Welcome back to The Explainer. Today, we are jumping right into the invisible machinery that quietly but constantly keeps our entire society running. We always see the big, flashy moments in government, right? The grand speeches, the signing of new laws, the ribbon-cutting ceremonies. But what happens after the applause fades? What actually turns those grand ideas into the physical roads we drive on, the schools we learn in, and the safety we rely on? Well, that invisible engine is exactly what we're unpacking today. Think about it for a second. When a leader stands at a podium and says, "We're going to build a brand new clinic in your town," how does that government promise become a tangible reality? By what exact mechanism does a functioning, fully staffed clinic suddenly appear, complete with doctors and medicine? It definitely doesn't happen by magic. It requires an incredibly complex, highly structured system. Bridging that massive gap between a written policy and a real-world result, that is the focus of our explainer today. The answer to that question lies in a vital concept called public administration. Simply put, it's the process of planning, organizing, directing, coordinating, and controlling government operations to provide public services efficiently and effectively. It's the direct implementation of policies and the active, on-the-ground management of public programs. So it's not about the politics of making the laws, it's about the absolute necessity of actually getting things done to serve citizens. To truly grasp how this machine works, here is our roadmap. First, defining public administration. Second, why it matters. Third, the 8 main functions. Fourth, the scope of action. And finally, we'll look at a real-world example using a vaccination program.
All right, part 1, defining public administration. Just what exactly is this invisible engine? The core philosophy here is crucial, and it hits the nail right on the head. Managing government, serving people. Fundamentally, public administration is about implementing government policies and managing programs. It involves police officers, healthcare workers, local administrators. It's their direct day-to-day activities working together to achieve public goals. It's a completely action-oriented field, driven entirely by public service. Moving on to part 2, why it matters and how it serves the people.
Honestly, the immense importance of public administration cannot be overstated. Without it, our society would basically grind to a halt. First off, it maintains law and order, giving us that essential baseline of safety. Second, it delivers the vital services we literally use every single day, like education and healthcare. Every time you hop on a city bus, you're experiencing public administration. It also promotes broader economic and social development, making sure society actually moves forward. Plus, it ensures the effective use of resources, meaning our tax dollars aren't just wasted. And finally, by operating transparently, it strengthens democracy and accountability. So yeah, this isn't just boring bureaucracy. This literally shapes the quality of our daily lives. Okay, part 3, the 8 main functions. Let's look at the actual gears of this engine. So how do these 8 functions group together to create continuous action? It's kind of like a giant puzzle. Let's look at the setup phase first. It starts with policy implementation, which is carrying out the laws. To do this, administrators must do planning, setting goals, and organizing, which means carefully arranging resources and personnel. Once the setup is good to go, we enter the action phase. This requires staffing, which is recruiting and training the people to do the work. Then there is directing, guiding those employees on the ground. And of course, coordinating, making sure all these different departments are actually working together smoothly, rather than getting in each other's way. Finally, we hit the accountability phase, because none of this happens without budgeting, managing the public funds. And, to close the loop, reporting, which is providing accurate info about performance back to the public and leaders. 8 distinct gears, all turning together.
Section 4, the scope of action. This goes all the way from the national level right down to the local.
It's absolutely vital to understand that this engine isn't just locked away in some faraway capital city. It cascades through every single level of society. At the top, sure, you have the central or national government managing huge ministries, but then it moves down to the state or provincial government. And it gets even closer to home at the local government level, your municipalities, your city councils. Public administration is happening right on your street. The scope also expands outward to include public corporations and regulatory agencies. It even loops in nonprofit organizations that partner specifically with the government to serve the public. It is a massive interconnected web that touches every corner of our communities. And finally, part 5, a real-world example. Let's see this engine in motion. Let's say a government launches a massive vaccination program. Public administrators immediately spring into action, using those exact functions we just talked about. Step 1, they plan the program, Who gets vaccinated first and when? Step 2, they allocate funds and resources. That's your budgeting and organizing gears turning. Step 3, they hire and train health workers. Right there, staffing and directing in action. Step 4, they distribute the vaccines, which requires intense coordination across state and local levels. Step 5, they implement the vaccine, the literal needle in the arm, delivering the service. And Step 6, they monitor and evaluate the results, which perfectly aligns with the reporting function to ensure accountability. This entire 6-step process maps those abstract concepts directly onto a life-saving, real-world operation. And that brings us to a quote that brilliantly illustrates our entire journey today. Public administration is the management of government activities and public services for the welfare of society. It gives us a perfectly simple yet profound summary. Whether it's planning a budget, hiring a teacher, or distributing a vaccine, every single gear turning at the national, provincial, and local levels is ultimately striving for one specific thing: the welfare of society. So, here is what I want you to ponder as you go about your day. Where can you see this invisible engine operating in your own community right now? Is it the crossing guard organized by the local council? The repaved road funded by a public budget? The safety standards enforced by a regulatory agency? Once you know how to look for it, you realize public administration is absolutely everywhere, quietly transforming government promises into our everyday reality. Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer today. Keep looking around, keep asking questions, and keep learning.